Hi all. This is Viresh here, taking the DevOps presentation. Um, so let's start with the presentation I have here. So the agenda for the presentation is, so everybody has this question, what is DevOps? They want to understand what is DevOps, why DevOps, and what it is addressing to the delivery challenges. Sorry for the ping. What this DevOps is addressing currently in the market, that's the delivery challenges we have, and what is the benefit to the audience. So let's get started. So let's try to answer this question, what is DevOps? This is not a new term. This was around the year of 2009. People started looking at the software industry with a different perspective, where the developers, there were different teams, developers, operations teams, and testing team. So there was not collaboration, there was no process involved. There was no process defined or a framework defined to bring all these teams together and work towards a final goal. Now, nowadays we find it's an obvious question, like what is a new currency in the market? When we say a new currency, we have seen different. It's not about the currency that we have, the notes that we have in the market. It's like the time. The time to market is a new currency. So if you are not getting your product into the market in a particular point of time, or if you're delaying your product in the market, you are losing on the business. So that is going to affect you. It's going to cost you some money, because the competitors will take you for a ride, and if they are into market, then they are going to earn more profits than you. So the time is a new currency in the market. And how is DevOps going to cater to this new currency? What is DevOps role in making more profits to the company and bringing their products quickly into the market with better quality and reduced costs and with less risk? So basically, when I say DevOps, it's like best practices. Over the years, they came up with this process and a framework to collaborate the development team and the operations team, and then bring out a quality product into the market. Now, how they're doing it and all, we'll see in the next slides. Now, why DevOps? So when I say DevOps, we need to know, like, at least we need to have some understanding of the software development life cycle, because this course is not for a fresher. At least he should have some 2 years or 3 years of experience in the IT industry, so that he can relate to what DevOps is trying to achieve. So in that perspective, I assume that the audience already has some understanding, has some background on the software development lifecycle. So based on that, we see there is some gaps here. On this slide, if you see, there is some gaps here. Now the development team has their build ready, and they want to move that build to the production environment. Now with the previous model, with the previous process, there was a delay in getting their product to the production environment or the different environments, UAT environment or maybe a testing environment, because this was all a manual process. So they had to raise a request, and then it had to go to the testing team. They had to test the once it is deployed, they had to manual. When it is deployed, they had to test it, and then they have to move to the different environments. So this is a manual process. So there's a gap here between the dev and test teams and the operations team. And always, like when the manual intervention is there, obviously there is going to be a delay. Now let's see. Let's take some example here. We are very familiar with the waterfall model. Earlier, what used to happen is, like with the completion of each phase, we moved on to the next phase. So it was a very traditional model, software development life cycle. Then with the new practices that came in, the new learnings that came in, the industry started moving towards agile methodology, wherein they quickly deliver small requirements in a span of 1 week or 2 weeks. That's called as sprints. So we should have a little understanding of what is agile methodology. So it is trying to bring the requirements, the vision of the product owners to in a 15 to 20 days of time to a product production phase where the product can be visible. They can see their product visible in 15 to 20 days of time. Now, what are the delivery challenges? So the release management team, whenever a build is ready, they need to take in to consideration. There are a lot of dependencies, there are a lot of risks involved because the development environment is different from what is there in the test environment, in the UAT environment, in the production environment. So they have to take into consideration all these factors and deliver the product onto different environments. So the challenges were when I say the compliance, the config files, the different environments, they had the different config files to be updated in different environments. Maybe developer is working on Windows some particular version, but the testing environment is on deployed on some other version. So there are conflicts. What is working on the development environment may not work on the testing environment or the UAT environment. So there's a huge pressure on the release management team because of last moment changes, or the requirements were not clear for the developer and they developed on a particular environment which didn't work on other environments. So this is understanding of the risks, the dependencies and the compliance as part of the release management team. Now let's see how the deployment automation. So how DevOps is helping us to automate this deployment to various environments and addressing the delivery challenge, addressing the challenge of moving your product to the final production in a not in a manual way, but in a automated way. So let's see how it is going to. So again, this is Agile with DevOps Solution. So Agile catered to the fast development of the product, and once the product is developed, you also need to deploy it to the various production environments to make it available for the users. So combining with the Agile and DevOps, we are trying to move our product into market quickly so that it reduces the time and makes more users happy and Hello, Babu. Hello, Babu. Can you? So the agile development, as I was telling, what it was trying to address. So it was addressing the gap between the customer requirements and the dev and the testing teams. So they tried to get the requirements in and put it in a backlog as a user stories, and in every sprint, based on the product owner and decision of the team members, they took up the requirements, they took up the user stories, and they story pointed those user stories, and that was to be developed in that particular sprint. Maybe the sprint was for 7 days or 15 days sprint. Now this agile development helped the developers to bring their code or build their code and make it ready in a very short span of time, because the requirements were chunked down into small user stories, and they were taken up on priorities and was developed, and the build was was ready. Now the agile thing, the very good thing about agile is your build is ready now. You have some requirements very you are, for example, you have a Facebook, you want to have a new feature in the Facebook, like for example you want to have that a like icon on your Facebook comments. So this is a small feature which the Facebook wanted to implement. Now, going with a traditional model, it would have taken the entire thing, no, to be going through the process of analysis, design, plan, test, and doing all the manual things would have taken a long period of time. Now, with this agile model, uh, all these e-commerce sites and the online businesses are utilizing this DevOps methodology to bring their new features into market very quickly. Now, how they're doing is with the agile framework in mind, the product is the code is ready to be deployed, and that is the deployment is done automatically, in an automated way using the DevOps methodologies and the tools used there. Now coming to the DevOps one, what it is addressing? It is addressing the gaps between the dev and the test and the operations team. Now, as I said, there are many manual interventions between the various stages, development, testing, operation teams. So it is trying to address the gaps between all these different operation teams and the different teams involved, collaborating and bringing them together. Now it is also catering to the automated release management and focuses on the functional and non-functional, operational and business readiness. So these are some of the things that advantages and the best practices that DevOps as a process, as a framework is bringing to the table. Now let's try to understand, as I already discussed about what was happening the old way. The developers used to code, okay, and build it and hand it over to the testing team. The testing team would find a bug and then they would report it back to the developers. Now the problem with the old way is that the feedback from each phase, now when I say the developer is one phase, the testing is another phase, is very slow. And this is where the whole problem is. The quality is getting reduced and there is a lot of time being consumed to make your product robust without any major bugs in your product. So this is the old way, where before DevOps it was in a manual way. It was going from build phase to test phase, release phase to operation phase. Now let's see with the DevOps how are we trying to automate the things at various stages. Let's take an example where the business stage one, where we have the business needs or the use cases, where the product owner says this is a requirement I want to deliver in a month's time. Now with the traditional way that was not possible. Now with the DevOps model, the business requirement comes from the product owner, that is the phase one. And the second, the software development team takes this requirement. They start coding in various, maybe in the Java or a Visual Studio, and any of the tools they use, and they maybe a .NET code or the Java code, and they start developing their application. So once the application is built, it is being checked in a centralized repository. Now Git is one of the centralized repository. It is called as a distributed repository. So this is one of the tool that we'll be discussing as part of the DevOps. It is being checked in here. After the check-in, there's an automated build triggered using the Jenkins tool. This is one of the popular open source tool we have currently for automated builds. So Jenkins is building your software, and then we need to also run some automated test scripts to see whether your build is stable. So that is also being taken care. It's being integrated in the Jenkins tool as well. So once in the stage 5 we see the automated test scripts are run, Then finally you want to deploy. Okay, now you are sure that your product is stable, there are no more bugs. Now you want to deploy this thing onto your environments where the users can start using it. So using some of the tools in the market, we have Chef, Puppet, and we have Ansible as well. Using these tools, we can automatically deploy once your code, once your build is ready to the environments. And not only that, once you deploy the thing onto the production environment, you can also keep monitoring and see what is the performance. Do you need more servers? There is a more load on the servers. So here comes the thing of the monitoring. There are many monitoring tools in the market, Negios and New Relics. There are other things, App Dynamics, that are coming up in market. So we'll try to learn one of them, and that's how this whole process of starting with the business case and ending up to the monitoring. This is the entire cycle. This is what we call as a DevOps continuous delivery cycle. Hope I'm clear here. So any question and answers, we'll be taking it. This is about the presentation. I would also like to show a demo here. Okay, so let's try to see how the continuous integration is done using Jenkins tool. So I'm using here Google Cloud Platform. This is just for the demo purpose. How do you create an account and how do you create a servers and all will be taken care in the during the sessions. When we go with the sessions, we'll be explaining each and everything, how we create an account in Google, and we get a $300 of credit, which is for 1 year, and we can utilize these credits to learn the things, create some virtual machines in the cloud, and learn the tools. That's very useful platform here, Google Cloud. There is also AWS, which is also providing you around $300 of it's actually 265 no 365 days of free usage AWS, but Google Cloud is more convenient. That's why we are using his. So let's get started. So this is, I'm trying to use a CentOS as a Linux box. I'm going to start this. It will take a couple of minutes to get started. I would need this external IP. I need to connect to this IP address using the PuTTY tool. We'll be explaining what is a PuTTY tool. It's a GUI client to connect to the servers. So let me connect to the PuTTY. I'll change the IP address since it's a dynamic IP that is changing. So I need to add the IP here and save it and open this. I'm connecting to this CentOS box. I'll key in the password. I would like to check if the Jenkins server is up and running. So I type this command. I'll check the status of the Jenkins server. Okay, the service is up and running. So we're good here. It's running on the port 9090. So I'll connect to my Jenkins server.